Hello everybody, my name is Uli and in this tutorial I will show you how I set up Webpack with Sass. This is a two-part series. In the first part we will set up Webpack for development and in the second part for production. Let me open the Explorer where I will add my project. With the keyboard shortcut Shift-Ctrl+N we can create a new directory and I give it the name Webpack-5-Sass and then hit enter twice to jump directly in this directory. Then I open the terminal in the same directory by jumping in the address bar with Ctrl+L, type cmd and hit enter. Now I will create a .gitignore file, init, git and npm and open WebStorm. Let me type my first command. gi JetBrains, Visual Studio, code, node, Windows, double angle bracket, .gitignore, double ampersand. gi is not a command in Windows. You will find the info to edit at this website. Here we can basically typing the same stuff we like to ignore. For example, JetBrains, Visual Studio Code, Node and Windows, and then hit the create button. And all this output here you can copy and paste it to the .gitignore file. Or you can do what I did. I went here to the command line docs and set it up for command line usage, and that's why I can use the gi command. Back to the terminal. So you know where I got the gi command from and why I typed this one. The double angle bracket I used to save it to the .gitignore file, and the double ampersand is to add more commands and only execute the next one when there is no error. So my next command will be git init and then again double ampersand and then npm init -y. The -y is for confirm everything. Double ampersand WebStorm 64 /dot. The dot is to open it in the same directory, and then another double ampersand and exit to exit the terminal when everything went well. So hit enter to commit this. Looking good because the terminal closed. And here's my WebStorm. By the way, if WebStorm not open with the command in the terminal, you have to edit the environment variables. First thing to do is the first command. With Ctrl+K, we open the commit dialog. And here I type first commit and check if everything is selected. What's this here? Okay, yes, I need those ones. Usually I do as much as possible with the keyboard shortcuts, but as I'm already using the mouse, I click on the commit button here. As of GitHub's first step recommendation, I create a branch with the name main. I open the branch dialog with Ctrl, Shift and backtick and select the new branch, hit enter, type main and see that the checkbox checkout branch is selected and then created. Down here you can see now that we're in the main branch. Now I can create my folder and file structure. In the WebStorm project window, what is here on the left side, and we in here when we're using the arrow key, we can confirm that. I use the shortcut Alt and Insert to open the new dialog. So Alt, Insert. This is my new dialog, and when I type the first letter, for example D, then I jump to the directory and then hit enter and add my first directory, what is app. And now here you can see that app is selected. And I do it again, Alt Insert, D for directory, and the next one is src. And this I keep going until I have my folder structure. So Alt D for directory, and the next is assets. And then Alt insert D for directory, and the next one is EMG. And now I have to go one step up so that I can create another subdirectory for assets. Alt insert D for directory, and this is JS. 2 up, Alt insert D for directory, and SCSS for the styles. And stay here and Alt insert D and base. 1 up, Alt insert D modules. Now to the JS folder, Alt insert D modules. So that's my directory structure. Now the files. The first one will be a fake image. So I go to the image, then Alt insert, and here I stay on file and type the name image.png. And this image is only for demonstration purpose, so I close this one. Now I'm back in the project window. Now I go to the JS directory, Alt insert. Now I type J for JavaScript. And here I can type app. I don't need any file extension. Hit enter and got my JavaScript file. Now I'm in the editor with Alt 1. I go back to the project window and go 1 down to the SCSS, Alt insert, and S for styles, and type here main, and selecting the SCSS file. So this will be my file ending for this one. And I have to usually selecting it only once because WebStorm is so smart to pre-select it then for me. So with Alt 1, we go back to the project window and go to the SRC directory and Alt insert and H for HTML. Typing index. And this is a test page. And create an H1 tag with H1 and then a curly braces, test page and closing curly braces and then tab. And this was the help of Emmet to type faster. Now I create 2 files in the root directory. With Alt 1, I go back to the project window and go 1 down. And here Alt insert J for JavaScript. This is webpack.config. Enter. And then Alt 1 back to the project window. And then I create Alt insert J for JavaScript. And I call it playground. And this is for testing some JavaScript, and with Control F4, I can close that. And now I hit twice Shift to open a dialog search everywhere. And here I tap in package because I want to open the package.json file. Now it's time to add the first packages. I open the terminal with Alt F12. And this is a terminal inside from WebStorm. And here, as you can see, I use PowerShell. And with Control Alt and S, we can open the settings. And here in the editor and tools, and here terminal, you can change actually your terminal. And as I have as well installed Git, I can use even bash from Git. And if you cannot remember where you will find some settings here, it's easy to just search as terminal, and then you will get easy where to find the stuff. Okay, cancel this one. Back to the terminal, CLS to clean it. And now I'm installing some packages with npm I is the alias for install, and then -D, -D is the alias for save dev. And now I require my packages. This is Webpack, and then Webpack-CLI and Webpack-dev-server and HTML-Webpack-plugin. And then I hit enter to install. So after the installation, I see I don't get any errors here. I can close the terminal with Shift Escape. First thing I like to do is to rearrange some of the entries here. So I remove those ones and add them here. And this is just my personal preference. And after the license, I hit enter and add a new entry config. And here I add the entry field. What is app? And then when I go with the end key to the end of the line and hit enter, I got the comma from WebStorm. And the next one is the source dir. And the ports. The standard port from Webpack is 8080, but I like to use 3000. And then I will add my first script. I changed a little bit of the key mappings. Let me show you what I did. Here, when I go to the key mappings and looking for Control L, this one was selected before to other key mapping, but I removed this one because the other one has two and I need only one for each. And then I added to the select single line at caret. And what it does is when I hit Shift Control L, I can select it and remove this line quite easily. If you use the Control X, then you can remove this line too, but it's all the time then in the clipboard and I kind of don't like it. And here I will add my dev script. So first thing, we have to call Webpack and then serve to start the dev server. And now I add the flag here, this the double ampersand and mode. Double hyphen and mode. And then development. You can add it as well to the webpack.config, but I like to have it here. For me, it looks cleaner. So now we go to the webpack.config file. So now let's add our Webpack configuration. First thing, comment. Node.js modules. And the first one I require is the path. And I have a live template. Let me show you this one. Here under editor and then live templates. And in JavaScript, I added a few, for example, the CL for the console log. So the way you have to do, you have to get the abbreviation. This would be CL and then the description. And this would be then the template part. And all the time I type CL and hit enter or tab. Then I get the console log and the cursor will be where's here the $sign the end. And very important is you have to change for which code you want to use it. And I add this one, then import F for import from, and then as well REQ. What is doing this one here? Then I go first here, and then after enter, I go to add the variable. Okay, let me show you. REQ, tab, and then this is path. So what I do now is Control W to selecting it, Control copy to copying it in the clipboard, enter, and then Control V to paste it. So that's it. And now I want to require as well the package.json. And I do this one to access the fields. To configure Webpack. And here again, IEQ tab. And then in the current directory. But here I give this a variable name from pkg and then capital V and was. Go to the end with the end key. And now I like to destructure my variables. From the pkg was.config. And I do this with const, then curly braces equals to pkg was.config, and then home, and then control and the right key, jump in there, and the front, what I like is the entry. Too bad that I get no hints here. Source here, because if you do a spelling mistake here, then it doesn't work. So those fields here have to be the same spelling like you did it here. Oh, next one. Now I need something to see how my script was called. Here I use the name dev, and I can do that with get the script name, how to execute Webpack, dev or build. And this I do const current task is equal to process .env .npm underscore lifecycle underscore events. And if you're curious what is in the process.env, we can open the playground. With Control E, we can open the last one we used. And here with CL tab, and then process.env. And with Shift Control F10, we can start this and add it here to our WebStorm configuration and see our environment variables. So next one is here the common Webpack configuration. And I start by adding it to a config object with const config curly braces. And here I need the entry fields. And now some backticks, as I want to use my variables. So in the current directory, and then a placeholder with $ and curly braces. And now I can use my variable, and then a slash assets slash JS slash and another $ curly braces and entry, and then .js outside from the curly braces. So this is my common entry, and now I start my development configuration. So the Webpack development configuration. And this I do in the if statement. So if, so asking the current task, how it was called. And this should be dev. And if it's dev, then I do the follow. First, I need an output for the bundles. And now I add to the config object with the dot notation config.output equals and curly braces. And here now optional will be the file name. And this is the backticks again, and $, curly braces, entry, and outside the curly braces .js, and then end key and the comma. Now we need the path, and here the path module from Node, and we're resolving it. And here we add the dir name, comma, and our source dir. And after this a comma. If you add images like background to your styles, Webpack will put the chunk hash to the file name, and I don't like that. So I say the asset module file name is, and here now quotes, current directory, assets, /emg, / and then in angle brackets, the name and the extension. And now you have the original file names from your images. Now it's time to add the dev server. And here again to the config dot the dev server equals to curly braces. And now we need the static field and another object, and here the directory, and here the path, and this time we joining it with the dir name and the source dir. And after the curly brace, we add the port. In ES6, you can use a shorthand because the key has the same name as the variable passed in as a property. So I just can type port, or like port like that. But as I explained you before, we can just omit one of those. So last thing to do is exporting everything. So the config objects, export the config object with module.export equals to config. So let's test this configuration with Alt right. We go to the package.json, and as we still here in the dev script with Shift Control F10, we can run this. Okay, this is our dev server. And then we got some errors here. JS up assets, okay. It looks like, oh, there's something missing here, and this is actually the app and source, and I forgot to add it here, app src. And as we already here in the script, we can just hit this button, or you can see Shift F10. We remember this shortcut, and now we don't get any error. So we can close this one, and now we have here a browser, and I can show you where I got it. Control Alt and S, open the settings, and here in the plugins, I installed some plugins here. This is one, the atom material icons, to have some nice icons here on the left. Then the browser, I will show you shortly. And then the string manipulation, what comes in handy later on. And then for the color scheme, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Okay, open the browser here. So now we go here on localhost 3000, and unfortunately we have to use this go to button, and now we have our test page here. And now open the DevTools. Here we can see the header and the body, and we don't have our scripts, but we want to add it with Webpack. And next thing is if you're going in HTML and adding to the page and hit save, nothing happened, and so we have to reload it, what is not convenient. With the Alt and arrow keys, we go back to the Webpack and with Control Home all the way to the top, and then after the path here we add another comment and Webpack. Plugins. And now we require it again, enter. And this one is the HTML Webpack plugin. So now Control W twice to selecting everything there between the quotes, and then Control copy, enter, Control V. So and this one is not a valid variable name. So with Shift Control and the left arrow, I selecting everything and then Alt M. So this is the string manipulation plugin, what I told you before. And now I go here, switch case, what is the 4? And then I want to change this to camel case, what would be the 7? Or Pascal case in this case, not camel case. So, and now I have my valid variable name, quite easy. So now I have to add it to the common Webpack configuration. With Alt down arrow, I can jump between here, and then at the end of the entry, I add a comma, and then I add my plugins, what is an array, and here I add a new HTML Webpack plugin, and then curly braces as I want to add some options, and the file name I want to choose is index.html, and then as well the template, what I want to add in backticks, and in the current directory, $ curly braces and the source dir, after the curly braces slash, and then index.html. And as we still running this configuration with Shift F10, we can rerun it. So with Shift Escape, I closing this window and going to the index and removing the 1 and hit save. Nothing happened. Why is that? If we checking our dev tools, here nothing changed because we have to refresh it. Reload. And now when we check the dev tools again, we see here as well our JavaScript. And if we changing, we got hot reloading, what is very important. So web style doesn't live without any styling. Let's add some styling to our project. And for this, we need some new packages. With Alt F12, we open the terminal again. And same like before, npm I-D. So what we need the style loader, then the CSS loader, the post CSS loader. And this we need only because we need the auto prefixer. And then Sass and the Sass loader. The loaders are basically for Webpack and Sass to reprocessing our style. Hit enter to install. And if we don't have any errors, we can close the terminal with Shift Escape. And then jumping to our package.json and see if everything installed correctly. Looking good for me. So now back to webpack.config to add this configuration. And I will add it above the common Webpack configuration. So here the common style configuration. And I will add another object with const style config equals to curly braces. So now I have to give Webpack some information. First, I need the test field, and the test property identifies which file or files should be transformed. So, and here I added in a regular expression, and I start regular expression with a slash, and then a backslash because I have to escape the dot, and then SCSS because these are my ending, and then a $, and a slash, and an I for case insensitive, and then at a comma. So the regular expression is between the two slashes, and here I have to escape the dot, and then what it means, looking for every file what is ending with .scss, and that's why the $, is there. Next one is the use. and this is an array. And now we tell Webpack which loader to use. The first is the CSS loader, and the next one would be the post CSS, but this one we have to add another curly braces as we have some more options here. And then we have to specify the loader, and this is the post CSS loader, and then a comma, and now some options. What is another object? And here is the post CSS options. As there are so many, we have a own entry here. So fixing this one. And this is again an object. And now we have the plugins, and the plugins coming in an array. And now we have to add the auto prefixer. So the last one is the Sass loader, and this would be after this curly braces. And first, when we going down here, you can see that this one is now highlighted, and add the comma here, and add the Sass loader. So next thing, we have to add it to our common Webpack configuration, as we need it in both in the development and in the build configuration. So after the plugins, we add a comma, and now we add module, and module, as you can see, is an array, and then we have rules. What is an array? And now we add the style config. One more thing to the development configuration with Control End all the way to the end. And after the dev server, we add the style loader to add styles to the DOM. And we do that in the style config and with the dot notification in the use. And then we unshifting it and add the style loader. And we add this here because we need only for the development configuration, not for the build configuration. So let's add some styles. First thing, we jump to app.js. And here the way it works in Webpack is we adding the styles, so we importing them in the app.js. So the styles, and here emp, and this would be one directory up, and here in the main.scss, and go to this one, and now we say tell WebStorm that we don't want to use the file watcher. And here in the body tag, I add first a background with BG, and I use Emmet here, and use the color chocolate. And then I will add a display flex to demonstrate the auto prefixer. So D:/F and tab. Every time we change something in the webpack.config, we have to rerun the configuration. We do that with Shift F10. So there's no error here, that's good. So we're closing it. And on the right side here, and then in the browser, we got our background color, and open the DevTools. We can see we have the styles here in the head, and later we will extract them. So closing this one. Now we go to the package.json, and here we add, before the scripts, the browsers list. And in double quotes, we add the last 5 versions. And now, as we change something in the configuration, we have to rerun this again. No error here. Open the DevTools. And now we have the prefixes. So we didn't go to all this trouble to have just only styles running and hot reloading, because we can have this everything out of the box with WebStorm. So let me close the DevTools. Let me add a simple JavaScript file, hello world. Go to the JavaScript file, and then with Alt Home, we can jump to the navigation bar here on the top. And then with the up arrow in the modules, and here Alt Insert, we can insert a file here, and this would be the JavaScript file. And then I'm calling it hello world. And I add a multi-line comment with Shift, Control and slash. And I describe here now what this class is doing. Change the first h1 tag to the hello world string. Okay, I like to export it immediately. Export default, then the class and the name, curly braces. So now I will add a constructor, and this constructor runs when the class was called. First thing, I add a variable, and in the constructor you do this with the this keyword, and then I say the headline, and in the headline I'm looking for the document and add the query selector, and here the looking for the h1 tag. Now I add a method. A method is just a function in a class. Change the content of the first h1 tag. I'm writing here h1 tag because if you have more than one h1 tag, it will go only to the first one. If you want to take all, then you have to see, you saw before that I have as well the query selector all. And I call my method change headline. And then is it this dot headline. Now I go to the inner HTML, and here I change it to okay. And now I have to add this method to my constructor with this change headline. And now I can add it to my app.js. And here I add the comment on modules, as maybe I want to install some third-party ones. EMP-F this time, and here go to the modules and then the hello world, and now Control W twice and then copy, Control V for pasting it and then selecting it again, and then Alt M and then 4.7. Because it's either it's using the Pascal case or the camel case. You can switch all the time, as it was before Pascal case. Now it's changed to camel case. And now I tell them as well here, add it to my Git as well, always add it. And now I have to implement this class. Just calling it new hello world. And now all I have to do is Control S and see what will happen with our test page. Now we have there hello world. So that's all for the development configuration. Let's do another commit with Control K. And what I like here is with this dialog, I'm already in the commit message, so I can just type add Webpack configuration for development. And if I hold the Alt key, you can see that I have here an underscore. That means when I hit I can commit my changes. So that's it for part 1. In the second part, we will set up Webpack for production. Thank you for watching. I see you in part 2. Bye.